motion to receive and file. Proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Holland, second by Hill, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to hold hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Davis, second by Hill, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any objections on file?
No written objections on file.
Questions, discussion, comments? Steve?
Yep, this is the setting up of the financing for, we're trying to bundle all these things together so we can save on issuance. That's why we're doing kind of these all at once. But this is for the borrowing of up to $300,000 for the Independence Sports Complex, the old Fairway building, for our plans to put in additional batting cages, track, and additional room for activities down there, and make that a useful building. In your packet, I know at our last meeting we talked about some of these bid amounts initially, and we were waiting on some additional deletion for the heater, for the couple of heaters and the couple base and couple light fixtures. And you may have noticed that adds about not quite $3,500 in additional deduction that we can take off. So if we delete, we've talked about a base bid of $307,000, and that includes the base bid, and then I think it's option 4, which is a $9,000 deduct. So that takes us to $307,000. We can take off an additional $3,950 for the lockers. There's $1,417 in an exterior window, $9,000 from the painting, and other various things listed here. Basically, we could get it down to a total amount of $280,536. But I know we did have some discussion last time about, did we want to delete all those items? And I guess if there's anything that we want to add back in or not do, I guess that's, we'll need to know that now, or at least have an idea. But, we've talked about that masonry work on the corner of the building, fixing that big crack that's there. It's cosmetic. It's not causing any harm. But that's, what's that one? About $1,900. Where did I see that? Lost it now. Yeah, $1,900. If we wanted to spend $1,900 on fixing that crack, that's a smaller amount. The lockers, I think, Bob mentioned that you can find those other location. The painting we could do in-house. The drywall and finishing in the Little League storage room, that was $51.94. We could take that out without much concern. But I didn't know if there's any thoughts or feelings on
I guess I would just as soon see the $1,900 masonry work done. When you start cutting concrete and doing all of that work, it'd just be nice to have it done, and when you do the rest of your work, you don't have cement dust all over the place.
Yeah, and eventually we want to get the entire building outside looking decent too, and I think that would be well worth it.
That's the only thing I think I would like to see added back here.
So that should give us enough room if we want to set a total amount not to exceed of $300,000. That gives us about $18,000 of room in there to work with, and we proposed setting them out at $300,000, which we could potentially borrow for the entire project. We do have a CD on hand that's about $187,000 that we talked about using. But one of the things we discussed with Spear Financial when we were looking at these was the low cost of borrowing that there is now. We're looking at potential rates around 2.5%. So did we want to consider saving that CD, saving that cash for another future project, and borrowing that amount for this? So that's why it's a not to exceed of 300, but we'll need to make that decision too on how we want to approach that. So with lending rates being as low as they are, and even by putting all, we're going to talk about the fire truck next, but even when we put all these things together, as far as where we're at with our general, our constitutional debt limit, we're still barely at 1% of the that's capped by state law. We're not even, we'll be right at about not quite 1%. So we're in an extremely good position debt-wise for capacity. And 4% is usually the ceiling. You never want to go over that. And the lower you can keep it, the better, obviously. But we're doing pretty good as far as outstanding debt obligations. So that's not a concern. But I don't know if there's any thoughts on, did we want to use that 187? Did we want to borrow that, or?
I think we'd be better off if we leave that 187 in that CD and just as a backup in case of anything or emergency or something else that may come up and go with the $300,000 limit.
That money is pretty flexible. It said that can be used for just about anything. So, I mean, it's always good to have cash.
I think I'd agree with Benita.
I would too.
Since we can
Yes.
bundle it all, we also don't have as much administrative fees on this also. Am I correct on that?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Does that have to be in the form of motion, or that'll be approved when
When we get to that.
finish that? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions on the issue at hand? If not, entertain the motion to close the hearing and receive and file and oral and written comments.
So
Aye.
moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second it.
second by Davis, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's go on to item 9. Adopt a resolution of the proposal to enter into a loan agreement, and borrow money in the principal amount not to exceed $350,000 for the essential corporate purpose of paying the cost to the extent of purchasing a fire truck. Motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Holland,
Second.
second by Hill, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to hold hearing.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any objections on file?
No written objections on file.
Well, what we're looking at is acquiring a new fire truck. Our 1990 pumper is due to be moved into use with the rural protection. When we've recently restructured how we contract with the townships for providing fire coverage, and what they do now is they actually, based on a matrix, they pay the city for contracted fire services, and we now own all the fire trucks and equipment to provide those services, whereas previously they owned 2 trucks themselves, 1 tanker, 1 pumper. We're in the process of purchasing the tanker that's out there from them, but the pumper was no longer functional. So we are short a pumper, and the plan is to take our existing city pumper and put that towards the rural response use, and then replace that pumper as the truck for the city. And the initial estimates that I know Doug has worked on and put together, and Fire Committee met last week and discussed this. We're looking at a potential price for a truck anywhere from about $360,000 to $390,000. And this last year we budgeted $40,000 towards the purchase of a truck, with hoping that we might receive a federal grant for purchasing that truck. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on how you look at it, Independence, we've never received that grant before for a new fire truck, because we're not as in dire need, I guess, as some other communities. So the likelihood of us getting a grant towards that is unlikely. So with that known and being said, we do need to replace a truck, and so what we're looking at is a new pumper truck that would be at the high end of $390,000. So with the $40,000 that we have budgeted, and the $350,000 here that we could borrow, that would give us a max of $390,000. And I know we were pretty confident that we'd be able to come in below that. So this would allow us to put that truck on order, and then probably in the next 8 to 9 months, maybe, the truck would actually be ready for us to take delivery.
about a used vehicle, but I think the general, Denny, correct me if I'm wrong, general consensus was that you're kind of inheriting somebody else's problems, and, there's a reason they're selling it, and, with the current, bonding levels, it seemed good to, buy a new one and, get on a cycle for replacing them.
Yeah, it's really important that we get on a rotation, our, equipment replacement program, because we've got a number of trucks and, if we can get 22 to 25 years out of a truck, we can work that into the funding cycle that much easier. You buy a truck that's 10 years old and you're gonna be replacing it in 12 years, and it'll be doubling up with when you're trying to replace another one, so it's and finding a used truck that's only 8 to 10 years old is difficult too. So there's just not a lot of them out there, because people try to stretch them out longer. So there was a number of factors that pushed us towards looking at acquiring a new truck.
I don't know, one thing shocked me, I think Doug, you said you had to buy 2 tires and put on one, and it was $1,100. Fire truck takes what, 6?
Yeah.
If you're lucky, that aerial takes 10 tires on that.
Yep.
About $1,000 a piece on those. So I mean, yeah, it's.
Probably more than that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of regulations that go into it. You can't go down to True Value and buy an axe to put on it. You have to get an approved axe, and so that's.
As far as the grants go, I will continue to write a grant, because we got the 1990 is actually up for replacement. But every year I will continue to write a vehicle grant, so you never know, one of these years, maybe we'll get lucky. Very few of those are awarded, but you never know. I guess you're not gonna ever get it if you don't apply for it.
We've been very successful with equipment.
Yeah,
with equipment
we've
grants.
been very successful.
In the, around the $100,000 level, we do really well with those. But
Well, that was some of the discussion, that you guys do a great job, the, paid staff